So me and you were old enough to remember when phones weren't around, like people just didn't have them. Kind of an alien thought. They were just becoming commonplace. The first cell phones we saw were large, chunky, and could barely make phone calls. No texting, no internet, and especially no games. Honestly, they were pretty bad at making phone calls. Like you couldn't hear. And there was a lot of, what? Repeat what you were saying.
You get off the internet. I'm trying to make a phone call.
I was about to start making dial-up noises,
So
and then
was
I was
I.
like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to scare our viewers. So, watching old TV shows like Frasier and things like that, it's very strange to watch the transition from a society where they didn't have phones to suddenly they have these gigantic bricks in their pocket, and then becoming really an everyday carry item. The first mobile game we saw was a version of Tetris on the, I'm going to butcher this, the Hagenuk MT2000 device from 1994, great year. From there, the famous indestructible brand Nokia released a phone that came with Snake, also a great game. Needless to say, we have come a very long way since Snake. There's a near unlimited assortment of mobile games, literally at our fingertips. Did you see what I did there? At our fingertips. And
I'm tempted to just snip that out.
No. But honestly, with the amount of games we have, most of them suck. Mobile games are often considered inferior in almost every way to console and PC games because, well, they kind of are. Mobile games are seriously limited by the processing power and graphical limitations of the devices being used. This is why mobile games are relatively simple compared to their more advanced relatives. However, the tide is changing in the area of gaming. Power, resolution, and endurance can't hold a candle to one thing, and that's accessibility. We're going to talk about that a lot when it comes to mobile games. Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we're twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink and settle in as we set course for realities beyond our own. You can't tell by my long rambling intro, we're going to be talking about mobile games today. We're going to be talking about what makes mobile games tick. We're going to be talking a little bit about the zeitgeist and the around mobile games. We're going to be talking about what mobile games we like to play. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be talking about what's good and bad about the industry. So we have a series of questions that we came up with, and we both answered them independently. I did not read your answers.
I did not read yours.
Ooh, this is exciting.
Yes, so we are going to get a blind reveal of each other's answers, which is good.
They're in the same document for, like, we write our scripts at in the same Google Doc. So it was just all force of will.
Nice blind lock.
Okay, here's the first question. What do you look for in a mobile game?
So when I answered this one was tough because I actually have played a huge variety of mobile games. I answered this question and then I went through all of my other mobile games to see if they had anything in common, and they don't. So that was actually kind of interesting. So even the answer I put down here, which is I usually look for a progression system that just isn't a huge grind. I like being able to kind of like get that kind of reliable dopamine hit when I'm playing mobile games.
Yes.
And I want it to be something simple that I can pick up and put down basically at a moment's notice. So that's kind of the accessibility portion you had talked about in your open. And then being able to, this is actually one of the big ones, and I learned this about myself after playing Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I want to be able to progress the game without having to commit a ton of time every single day. And that was one of the biggest problems I found with that game. And that was a problem because I played that game for like 4 years because it was a Star Wars game, which we're going to get into hopefully in our next episode, do a deep dive on some more Star Wars gaming that is coming out. But, spoilers. Even though I didn't enjoy the game for such a long time, I actually quit the game twice before I completely went off at this most recent time. It was so hard to stay with. And it really came back to my first point the progression system was a huge grind. I basically did the math and looked at all of the resources and how much I could get on a day-to-day basis. And without being a pay-to-play player myself, it actually would have taken literally decades to amass all of the resources based on the current rate of resource generation I was achieving in the game, which once I got to the point where it was like, hey, it's going to take you at least 3 years to do like all of this set of characters, I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to play this anymore. There, essentially, I got to the point where I realized I can't unlock the entire collection of characters on a collection-based turn-based strategy game. I was like, I'm done. That was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, because it was an unachievable objective without paying money.
Yeah, so you lost those dopamine hits.
Oh, big time.
That's funny that you call them dopamine hits, because I wrote down one of the things that I look for in a mobile game is rewarding. Literally, in-game rewards hit those dopamine buttons. Because it's the reason why games like Call of Duty, it's like you get a little miniature guitar solo every time you kill somebody. It's like, you're the best ever. And it's just like,
that's true.
Just power chords all over the place. What else do you look for in a mobile game?
I do like I like playing in known IPs. So the games I've spent the most amount of time in has been Star Wars based games. So for example, I'll throw in another one here, Star Wars Commander. Do you remember that one?
Yep. Played a lot of that.
That is the Star Wars skinned Clash of Clans game. It is a base builder. But again, it kind of came back to like I couldn't be successful in it because I needed to invest too much time in it every day. And again, I was getting smoked by these people who were like, I unlocked everything by paying for it. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But I really like playing in IPs that I enjoy and I love. So I played Star Wars Commander. I played Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I'm really excited for Star Wars Hunters. 2023 can't come fast enough. I also played a decent amount of Call of Duty Mobile, and I say a decent amount as that's actually my biggest like streaming area right now, because that's actually we'll go into some more stats later, but it actually has one of the biggest like player bases as far as monthly players, even in a Call of Duty franchise, which I think is awesome. But yeah, they're all just known IPs.
And I'm sort of spoiling it. It's so popular, and we see mobile games have huge player bases because of one thing: accessibility.
Everyone has one of these, which means
everyone has one.
You can do pretty much whatever, and you're good to go.
Never mind the fact that I could buy 2 Xbox Series X's for the cost of a new Samsung, but you're going to find the Samsung in my pocket before you're going to find an Xbox Series X on my entertainment console.
That is kind of a weird point. Yeah. I mean, when I upgraded to my most recent phone, which was actually about 3.5 years ago, which means the operating system is about to obsolete itself, which is fun. Don't want to talk about that. It makes me sad. But it was like $1,300. It was a very expensive phone.
Mine was about a $500 phone, and I got it about 2.5 years ago. It's really showing its age. I might be getting one in the next couple of months. We'll see. I ended up taking that money I was putting away towards the phone, and I ended up buying a suit with it.
Suit?
Like clothes, because I'm an adult, apparently. I need to do a factory reset on my phone. But anyway, the 2 things I put down for what do I look for in a mobile game is something that's fun, but also slightly competitive and makes me think. I want the challenge. I'm actually going through this game right now where it's an idle game, I guess. So there's not a lot of direct interaction. It's called Exominer, and there's to be really efficient with it. There's like lots of math. So I find myself doing calculations on what do I need to buy and sell and build to get to the next upgrade. How do I do that the most efficiently? So I find myself doing math in my head, and that's something I really enjoy.
I like that.
So strategy as well.
I do end up playing a lot of puzzle games as well. I like just giving my brain that short round of challenge. I play different like block games that are similar to like Tetris or like Sudoku, things like that.
Yeah. What what kind of puzzle games do you play? But then you just said it. I do something very similar. I try to do a crossword every day. I really like word games, so I play Wordle every day, and Sudoku is a big favorite of mine.
Yep. Yeah, I play Wordle pretty often too. I don't necessarily consider that a mobile game, but I mean, you can very easily play it. I played it on my phone, tablet, PC, laptop. I mean, I've played it on all the devices. When you're looking at spending money on mobile games, how often do you spend money on mobile games?
That's a huge concern of mine when it comes to mobile gaming, is especially if it's very competitive, doesn't have a pay to win model. I am not a whale. I don't spend my money on mobile games, and if I do, it's if I'm getting the biggest bang for my buck, and at most, I'm a salmon.
Salmon.
At most.
For those of you who are not familiar, the term whale refers to somebody who spends a ton of money on a mobile game, specifically so they can get the best win or best strategies or gear to win the game.
It's the title given to pay to win players. And then the whaley boys.
And then the smaller the fish means usually a subsequent smaller dollar amount as well.
When I was following Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes really closely, I still play, but I'm not in the community as much as I was. I'm not on the Reddit page. I'm not on things like that. When one of my favorite YouTubers who follows the game, when he was playing, he got flown out to the game studio for this mobile game, and he met with other players, and some of those other players had spent upwards of over $100,000 on a mobile game, just buying in-game stuff. And it just goes to show that some people go absolutely bananas on these things. Wow. And it's I want to say, without actually doing the research, I want to say Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is one of the most profitable EA titles in the last couple of years.
Which is funny because the community hates that they keep making all of these money moves, which is funny because it's working, but they hate that they're doing this because they're like, you're obviously taking the fun out of this and you're moving this more into this is a business model. But most of us are playing this because we like Star Wars, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing is there's going to be a subset of people who will be like, well, it's a business and the only thing that matters is making money. And I would say to those people, shut up. No, it's not. I want to have fun and I'm willing to spend a certain amount of money to get that fun.
Absolutely.
So when I pay $60 for a console game and it sucks, I get upset.
But absolutely, because that's still a good chunk of money.
Yeah, that's a decent chunk of money. Do you know how many gumballs you can buy for $60?
Stop. 240, I know.
It's a lot of gumballs.
It's a lot of gumballs. That is true. To answer that same question, I couldn't tell you the last time I spent money on a mobile game. If ever. Free
to play.
Yeah, I actually take pride in building up my collections free to play. So when I am playing games like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, didn't pay a cent for it. Absolutely not. Never did a crystal purchase at all. And I had a really good roster. And I felt kind of bad leaving our guild because I was one of the top earners in things like the raids and the territory wars and the battles and things like that. But I couldn't keep up with it. I almost felt bad because I wanted to give my account to somebody else. But I know that EA, and I forgot what the name of the studio.
Capital Games,
thank you. Capital Games does not like account sharing. And there have been...
it's against their terms and agreements.
Yeah. And there have been times where they've close those accounts down. So I was just like, I'm not going to worry about it. It's not really worth it. I barely even spend time even spending money on in-game purchases for non-mobile games.
Yeah, for sure. If I can be the bearer of bad news, that guild actually broke up. It fell apart.
How long after I left?
It was a couple months. It didn't stay together and we went our separate ways. We ended up actually merging with a different guild, which was something that the officer corps was really trying to fight against. We really wanted to keep our autonomy, but then it went away. The guild community was really a cool part. I mean, I'm in a way stronger guild now, which is nice. And that's keeping me playing because the rewards I'm getting are better. I'm getting more of those dopamine hits. But yeah, it's really sad. I mean, we played that game for 4 years?
Yeah.
The same 50 guys. So, I mean, and we would share pictures of our dogs with each other, and it was a good time.
Yeah, I felt bad leaving that community because, honestly, that was when I was getting my start in streaming. Half of the time, most of my viewership was coming from people from that guild. Because even if I wasn't streaming the Star Wars content, they're like, oh, let me watch this guy because he's, in our guild, he's really active in things. I was an officer for a very long time, but I left. The second to last time I left, I gave up my officer role And then when I came back, I think there was a little bit where they're like, "Do you want to be an officer again?" And I was like, "Absolutely not." I was like, I want this. I want to play this game with as few strings attached as possible.
That's where I'm at now. It's kind of nice, actually.
I can't imagine spending money on a mobile game. It just kind of hurts. So, and I know people spend like a ton of money on like Call of Duty skins and things like that.
Yeah.
Skins and customizable items are absolutely, it's bonkers how much money people will spend on those, especially when you look at the in-game currency for games like Call of Duty, because every game has their own form of digital currency. You spend real US dollars on their in-game currency, so it's non-transferable, which is stupid. That should be illegal. We won't get down that rabbit hole. But then they call them draws in Call of Duty Mobile, where you spend a certain number of coins or tokens or whatever the currency actually is. I don't pay attention because I don't buy them. But you essentially are gambling when you cash in those draws. They're like, oh, if you do this 10 times, then you might get it. And so you end up spending, some people spend a lot more money to get these items than other people. You can't, it's not just like buy this new skin for $3. It's like, buy a certain number of coins so that you can keep rolling the dice to then see if you get the draw. At least that's my understanding.
So that is definitely still gambling, but the way, because Battlefront 2, the most recent Battlefront 2, they got in a lot of trouble for doing this exact thing because it is gambling. Does Call of Duty Mobile, do they tell the purchaser their odds of winning?
I don't know, but I think you're guaranteed to win in a certain number of draws. I think that's how it works. I'm not entirely sure.
Interesting.
I'm like, why can't you just like say, hey, this new packet, like this new skin pack with it's like usually a legendary weapon and a bunch of other like item skins. Like, why don't they just say, hey, it's $5, just $5?
Probably because there's some sort of brain chemistry thing going on when people like they don't get that rush.
Well, it's my theory is it's a dissociation away from real money because it's that one step removed. You've already spent the money to buy the in-game currency, and now once you have that in-game currency, you can spend it on whatever you want. And then it quote unquote doesn't matter at that point.
Which in a twisted way makes a little sense.
I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think that's why they do it, because that makes them money. I mean, Call of Duty's made a lot of money that way. So, which we'll get into exact numbers later. What is like one of your favorite things? Let's try to go into more of a positive question. What are like your favorite things about the mobile gaming industry?
Yeah, I would say it's come a really long way. Mobile games are becoming just a lot cooler than they used to be. I would say the first generation of mobile games on smartphone were very simple. You saw a lot of like 2D side scrollers, things like Angry Birds. Not that Angry Birds is bad. It's it's kind of cool, but the games have only risen in their complexity. I mean, we saw the same thing in the rise of consoles, except for the growth of mobile games has been exponentially more quick because our technology is also advancing at an exponential rate, which is awesome. And I think the big thing I'm looking forward to in the industry, which exists, it's just not in a great place right now, but I'm not going to get into the negatives. I really do want to stay positive because that's a really cool thing, is game streaming.
Yeah.
This is just using your cell phone to stream a video game like you would Netflix. And if they can get, like Xbox Game Pass Ultimate has this, if they can get it to work, oh my gosh, that would be so cool. Like most cell phones have native support for Xbox and PlayStation controllers because they're just Bluetooth devices.
Yep.
Gone is the era where every single manufacturer is really doing their own thing as far as like the connectivity, the signal style, the connector style. I mean, even the EU at this point has forced Apple to use the USB Type-C. Like we're really, which is a good thing for gamers as well, because you can also natively hook up an Xbox controller with Type-C straight into your phone, which is awesome if you have a male-to-male cord. I just want to be able to play real games on my phone,
Yeah, that's been something that I've been kind of experimenting with a little bit, is the Xbox Game Pass app itself on different devices. And I think that's been really cool because it's helped bridge that divide, from, I'm kind of an Apple bro now. My wife has converted me, unfortunately. Sorry, everybody. But having all Apple devices, I can literally just download that Xbox Game Pass app, and I was literally playing Mass Effect on my iPad or I can like load up Game Pass on my phone and connect my controller to it. I like that you also mentioned controller capability, because that was my first thing, was the transition into controller friendly mobile games, which I think is awesome, because most people who have and play video games, especially in what?
Dog butt. I saw his butt.
Oh yeah, his tail. Yeah, he's everywhere. He just left out from underneath me so he can go somewhere else. What was I saying? One of my favorite things about the industry is the transition into controller-friendly mobile games, Call of Duty being one of those, which I think is super cool. The advent or the advancement of the Xbox Game Pass app, so any game that is on there, again, you can play with a controller, because, again, the controllers are all just Bluetooth. They're like, hey, if we can just play these on anything, it gives everyone more accessibility to these. And then my second thing is actually the growing capability of mobile games. The fact that I can play zombies, first-person shooter style multiplayer, and Battle Royale. Sorry, I totally spaced on that third one there for a second. All in one game is amazing. The only thing it's missing is campaign. That's my only thing. I'm like, if you could add a campaign into that, then it would have like the 4 game modes that players look for. Solo campaign, player versus everyone, or PvE, PvP, and then Battle Royale. Those are like the 4 big ones. You get those, and then you're good to go. And one of my favorite things as well is big shout out to Minecraft as well, because Minecraft has apps on phones, tablets, computers, and consoles. And if you play on Bedrock and Realms like we do, it is accessible to all of those devices. So if you have an internet connection, you can log into your realm from any device. And I think that's super cool. And it's actually been one of my favorite features to use. So if I'm bouncing from room to room, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be on the PC tonight, but I can still access my world. And I'm going to play on the big screen, so I'm going to play on the Xbox. I can still access the same world, and I can pick up right where I left off. I'm not having to like transfer between worlds or anything. So I don't know about you, but when I'm working on my Minecraft worlds, I want it all to be in the same server, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's something that we actually want to do in the future, is when we're not a baby podcast and we're more of a big boy podcast, is setting up a realm or a server for our supporters and listeners to play on.
Yeah. So if you guys are hearing that, that is one of our goals. That'd be super cool. The unfortunate part is that realms do cost money, but eventually we will get to the point where if we get enough support for this, then we can have that service catered and potentially see some growth with that as well, because we want to be able to interact with our community. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're taking it again, baby steps. Baby steps forwards. One thing I love that you mentioned Angry Birds earlier, because one of my last notes on that third question is like, we literally, like, in our lifetime of gaming and playing games on our phone, we went from like playing Angry Birds to like being able to play like a first person shooter,
which is bananas.
Like, so cool. Even though the graphics are not like, you're not playing in ultra high definition or anything, these are still pretty good graphics. I mean, all the new smartphones, Samsung, Google, iPhones, they have some stellar displays. So you get some really cool functionality out of it still.
So now that we've talked a little bit of positivity, let's go back to the negative side, to the dark side.
Nice.
To the dark side. For our listeners who don't have their video on, that was my lightsaber. It is red.
Oh yeah, I forgot we do this in audio too. I'm like, yes. That's perfect. And I'm like, oh yeah, audio listeners are going to be like, this guy's weird.
They are not going to understand. It didn't even make a noise. It's just a button, because I didn't want to pay like $400 for. What are your least favorite things about the mobile gaming industry right now?
Oh, I can go over that real quick. One of my least favorite things about mobile gaming is the difference in processing power and graphics between games. You see some games that do it really well, and you see some games that do it very poorly. I don't like ads. I think ads are the worst, but I understand that that's how. If games want to keep the game free for a player, then they have to rely on things like ads, which is super annoying. Yeah. I get that, because you can't keep the game going and supported on a single purchase. That model no longer works anymore. We've seen that with pretty much everything, even console games. You might be able to buy a game for $60, but you can bet that there's going to be in-app or in-game purchases as well, because they need that economy to continue moving. So if these games are going to last longer and longer, like, they have to be able to pay staff to continue to develop things. I mean, you've got games that have kind of gone into the season model, quote unquote. What that looks like for different games is super different, which is kind of hard to follow. So every game follows different like timelines for their seasons, and sometimes the seasons are really short and they're like, we're on 17 seasons, and you're like, the game's only been out for 2 years, like what's going on? But I understand that sometimes that ads can be a necessary evil, but there are games that I will not play if they have too many ads or they prompt you to buy their in-game purchases too much. And this might upset you a little bit, but one game that drives me nuts and I hate playing is Mech Arena, because every time you log in, you have to click that little X like 17 times. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to buy your stuff. Just let me play the game, like 2 rounds, and then get out of here. Like,
so yeah,
drives me nuts.
I haven't picked up Mech Arena in about 2 weeks because of that exact issue. I hate going through the ads, and I'm at the point where I'm bumping into pay to play players, and I can't keep up. I do want to keep talking about the ads, though. Most of the negative things I put about the mobile gaming industry are about ads. If a game has compulsory ads, I'll immediately uninstall it. Doesn't matter what it is. If you force me to watch an ad to continue playing, I'm out. Doesn't matter how fun your game is. What I do like is if it's like, hey, we're going to give you the option to watch an ad for an in-game reward. I will do that 10 times out of 10. Yeah. I'll do it. And half the time, well, maybe not half the time, because I would eat through my memory. A lot of times I do end up installing the ads that are the games that are advertised to me if they look fun. And then I get hit with a compulsory ad and I just uninstall it. It's like, okay, well, like you're not making the cut because of that. That's annoying. Also, misleading ads. So the mobile gaming industry is wildly unregulated. Wildly misleading. There's no regulation whatsoever. I saw this dumb puzzle game and they had footage of their game on top and a no audio clip of Elon Musk just walking around talking. And I think I even took a screenshot and I'll probably post it on our Twitter after this episode is released. It made no sense. And I already don't like Elon Musk. I've tweeted negatively about him probably a couple times. I don't tweet a lot.
Yeah, dude sucks.
Yeah, he sucks. And I was like, is this what people want to see? I mean, people kind of, they simp pretty hard for Elon Musk, and it's really cringy. It's just, blech. It's disgusting. Another thing I find disgusting, going back to the ads, is negging in ads.
What's that?
If you use the words high IQ, left brain or right brain, or 99% of people can't do this, if you somehow insinuate that I'm an idiot and can't solve this puzzle to make me install your game, I'm like, absolutely not. I was like, I'm not falling for that. I don't respect myself a lot, but I do respect myself enough to not install that game.
Yeah.
Hate it.
I believe Matt Pat actually did an episode on game theory a while ago about the idea of misleading ads, and then that idea, is it negging? Negging?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe I just forgot the term, but he did an episode on that and how like a few apps actually got sued because of that, because they were like giving away this gameplay footage that actually looked genuinely fun, and then you downloaded the game and it was nothing like the advertisement. They got sued for that because that's misleading the consumer, and a bunch of people were like, hey, this is not what we signed up for, you can't do this. That's not okay, because again it sets a very poor precedent, and there are actually laws to protect the consumer. I know, big shock. There is a law to protect consumers, not businesses. What? Sorry, that's going to get us some love, but we can cut that if we need.
Keep it.
Probably. I probably will. And so that's tough. I don't like ads in games. The problem is that ad revenue is actually like really, really important. So as somebody who does a lot of different creation for this podcast, my other podcast, and streaming content, I would love to get paid from ads. Like, that would be super cool, because that's how people actually make their living, like doing this. Like, people don't make their living because they're really, really good at video games and they're like winning prize money all the time. There's like 4 players in the entire world that like get all of their money from that. Like, most people are getting their money from sponsorships and things like that because it works. And I think that's really cool, but it's a different situation when it's in a mobile game and it's just on your phone and they're just constantly just berating you with ads like, hey, check this out, blah, 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 blah. You're just like, just leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Yeah, they're like, hey, idiot,
Yeah.
download our game. And people are like, fine, because it keeps happening. It must be working.
Yeah, I know. And mobile games make so much money. I was kind of, as we were doing research for this episode, I was like, we could just make a mobile game and then retire and we'd be fine. But I don't know how to do that. So
we have to learn how to develop a video game.
I know, right? My last thing I want to talk about to kind of transition out of ads is one thing I don't like, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, is actually being able to, if people want to pay money to buy skins in a game, I think that is fine. If that's the way they're going to spend their lunch money, whatever. Kudos to you. I, however, as a free-to-play player, want to be able to unlock those skins. I don't care how ridiculous the challenge is. I want to be able to do it because that comes with its own level of like prestige. And like if it's an Xbox game, you get those achievements, especially for like, for example, Gears of War achievements. Like they have like the seriously achievement for each of their games, and they just get subsequently harder and harder to get to.
My gosh.
And if you have that, it like shows you the percentage of players that have it. And so when you get it, you get like a triple dopamine hit. It's pretty nice.
Major bragging rights.
Yeah. Bragging rights, all that fun stuff. And really, I just wish like I could unlock some of those extra items, because again, that would keep me in the game longer than so going back to like the Call of Duty example, I'm like, if I want to do like a camo skin grind, for example, the maximum level I'm going to get is just a gold level skin for all my weapons. I don't care about having a gold level skin. Everyone knows what that looks like. That's not unique, really. It's just like, cool, you killed way too many people, you put too many hours into this, congrats. Let's do it for the other 74 weapons. You're just like, but they're like really cool ones, and like they're really creative over there. They have different like kill animations when you knock down a player. They have different animations on the weapon itself. So as you're aiming down sights, it changes the weapon as you get different kill streaks. Can't get those without paying for them. Just straight up. And when you do get killed by somebody who has those and they have all the death animations and stuff, you're just like, oh man, you paid so much money for that. Like, and you, the funny thing is you assume those people are good. When you have those high level skins, I don't know if you run into this, when you see those people, your brain immediately says like, oh, this person must be good. Because a noob would never pay for nothing. Even though they did nothing. Like, it's just kind of a weird association that my brain makes, even though it's totally not true.
We'd have to do a pretty significant statistical study to see if there was actually a correlation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, I was hoping you were going to grab him.
Yep, he's going to sit with me.
I would break my back if I tried to pick up my dog.
Oh yeah, he's a lot bigger. I don't know if you can see this, but Finn's throwing paws up here as well.
Throwing paws? Oh gosh. Way to completely derail our episode.
Dude, people love this. This is going to get us views. This is going to get them clicks. This is the thumbnail right here.
Gosh, I'm so enamored by your boys. I love them.
Dude, that's because they're Instagram dogs, man. I'm like, Finn, or Theo's like all splayed out because I'm trying to like put him down, and Finn on the way down is just whole time. Great. He's like, I got him while he's trapped. Yeah. So, and of course now they're playing because I riled them up.
We should keep this moving.
Our next topic that we'll transition into is just some specific games that we want to cover. Now, I wrote down a few of these just because these are the games I'm currently playing or have played the most in previous times. Some of them are newer releases. I do want to talk about the top 10 grossing mobile games as well, because I think that's a really, really cool aspect that people don't necessarily know about. And there's lots of different like genres of games as well. So not all of these are like the exact same. They're all really, really different. And it's really, really cool. I really got a kick actually out of going through the Wikipedia page for this. And I just thought it was one of the neatest things I've ever seen. So
hit me, Big Poppy.
So I'll talk about, let's just actually dive right into it. The top 10 grossing mobile games. So this is like gross dollars, not net. So this doesn't take into consideration the payment of the staff. And if you know what gross means, then like hopefully we don't have to explain that to you guys. But again, this is just how much cash it brought in. So let's start at the bottom and we'll work our way up. So number 10 is, and I'm going to probably do a bad job pronouncing some of these because some of these I've never even heard of, but Garena Free Fire. So I think that's supposed to be arena with a G. Garena Free Fire.
No,
Came
it
in-
is. It's Garena Free Fire. It's a very popular game over in India.
Oh,
I know
gotcha.
that because it was on an episode of Game Theory. I think it's one of the most downloaded games in the world, if not the most.
That would make sense, especially if it's available in. There's actually a lot of players that come from India, China, and like the Middle East. I get to play with a lot of them on Call of Duty. It's really fun because you can see it in their gamer tags usually. But this is a battle royale style game. Came out in December of 2017, so the game is about 5 years old, and it has made $4.33 billion. It has
Billion with a B.
Yeah, billion with a B. There's 3 commas in that number. It's quite a big number. Number 9, we have Fantasy Westward Journey. This is a MMORPG. I don't know why I struggled saying that.
You got it. There you go.
This one came out in March of 2015, so this one's 7 years old, so a little bit older, $4.7 billion. Now, keep in mind, because these all have different release dates, this doesn't always take into consideration how long the game has been out. I did not take the time to break that down year by year because I do a lot of
time.
I don't have that kind of time. You get it. Thank you. Number 8, we've got Fate/Grand Order. So I don't know if that just means it has slightly different titles in different areas, but who knows? But Grand Order came out in 2015 as well. So the game is 7 years old. It's an RPG. This one's actually made by Sony Music Entertainment Japan, which the studio is Aniplex. Never heard of it before, but sometimes you'll see these sub companies of who is actually putting these on. You're like, oh, I know you. I can't do the whistle thing that Leonardo DiCaprio does in that scene. I won't try to put that in there. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, please don't whistle into your mic. Thank you.
It'd be terrible. So Grand Order, 6.3 billion. 6.3 billion, crazy amount of money. This next one's going to probably rub you the wrong way a little bit because we talked about this in kind of the discussion a little bit. So let me see. So we've got 10, 9, 8. So clocking in at number 7, we have a puzzle game, Candy Crush Saga. And to be fair, I don't know if this includes all of the other Crush Saga games. So there's like Soda Crush and all these other games that are made by King Entertainment. But this one came out in 2012, November of 2012. King is actually a subdivision of Activision Blizzard, and I didn't know that until I looked this up. Candy Crush is a Blizzard game. Like, that's the same people who brought you like StarCraft, World of Warcraft, half of the Call of Duty franchise, because Activision is also part of Blizzard now. It's bonkers. And the amount of total gross is $7.456 billion. So, like, a few crisp million away from $7.5 billion. Crazy.
Billion with a B, as in, boy, that's a dumb game.
Absolutely.
Gosh.
We'll get into number 6 here in just a moment. The dog is complaining to go outside, so I'm going to go let him out. Coming in at number 6, we've got Pokemon Go. This came out in 2016. I thought this game felt a little bit older because I played this when this came out. This is considered an augmented reality game because of that AR feature where you can basically walk around, you can scan your phone around and look at the Pokemon on the ground. This is made by Niantic, the Pokemon company, and they made $7.7 billion. Good for them. That's a lot of money. That one was a little bit of a head scratcher for me because I was trying to think, because I actually only recently deleted that game from my phone because I just hadn't played it in such a long time. And I was trying to think, I was like, where are people spending money on this? And I realized you can buy like the Pokecoins and different like upgrades and stuff. And I realized, oh, that's what people are spending money on. But it took me a second. And I'm like, oh man, people spend a lot of money on this. Next one, coming in at number 5, we have Clash of Clans. This clocked in at $8 billion, right on the money. This came out in 2012. So this is 10 years old. That probably explains part of the reason it has such a high grossing number. Supercell is the one that came out with this. This is considered a strategy game. Next one we have is the highest rated battle royale game on mobile, which is PUBG Mobile. This came out in 2018 by Tencent Games, and this made $8.4 billion.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And again, this is all off of in-game purchases. This is not people paying for the app and being like, oh, I'm going to buy this for $1.99 or whatever. This is people downloading the app for free and then buying every customizable item that you possibly can. And again, because PUBG, I will say, is not controller friendly. They're specific in the game. I downloaded this a long time ago, and I was like, why can't I connect my controller? This is dumb. So I looked it up, and the developers specifically left that feature out because they want everyone to be on a level playing field, which I was like, okay, I get that. That's a fair reason. Did I like it? No, absolutely not. Thought it was stupid.
Fair, but I hate it. Thanks.
Exactly. Clocking in at number 3. So in that bronze medal spot, we have Puzzle and Dragons. I have literally never heard of this one before.
Never heard of it.
It came out in 2012. It grossed $8.5 billion. Gung Ho Online Entertainment came out with it. It's considered an RPG puzzle game. This just reminds me of like one of those games you'd see in the weird ad rolls that we were talking about earlier for other games. And I'm just like, I don't know when, I don't know if I've ever seen this before. So
that must be why we see so many games like that, is because freaking Puzzles and Dorgos or whatever is making $8.5 million.
Yeah. In that silver medal spot, so number 2, we have Monster Strike. It's similar in
who is naming these?
These are just token words. They do a little bit of analysis essentially and say, oh, these words tend to strike a little bit more interest in the player base, and then they just like mash a bunch of them up. I'm convinced that's what they do. The only reason Star Wars doesn't do that is because they just slap Star Wars on everything, and people are like, oh, I'm in. Here's my money. Like that's the only reason.
So, Star Wars Hunters, not a good name.
No. But Monster Strike, which came out in 2013, this is also an RPG puzzle, but also / strategy. Again, I don't know what that means because that's 3 different genres in one, so I don't exactly know what that even means. Again, I did not have the time to play all of these. Mixie was the developer, and they clocked 9.9 billion. So a lot of money there. Pretty cool. Last one we have is, again, it goes by kind of a double name. So in that first place spot, we have Honor of Kings / Arena of Valor. Again, I've literally never heard of this before.
And it's a MOBA. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a MOBA game. This came out, Tencent Games did this one, which is the same producers as PUBG Mobile. So they're obviously doing pretty well because this one grossed in at $14.6 billion and was released in 2015. So that means they're making a cool $2 billion in gross revenue since every year this came out. So good for them. And if you put PUBG and Honor of Kings together, you're looking at $23 billion over the course of 10 years.
Is that a lot of money?
That's enough money to give everyone in the world like $4 or $5. I don't know. Or if you want to put it in gumballs, 16 to 20 gumballs. So a lot of gumballs.
A lot of gumballs.
Yeah, so that is like those kind of the scale we're working with these games. Like they gross an absolute crazy amount of money, and even like their player bases are still really, really big for some of these. Now, again, it's kind of dodgy finding like player stats for a lot of these because I had to look even for the games that I did want to talk about and kind of finish out with just with some fun stats. It was kind of hard to find some of these stats and find them in reputable places because you're just kind of doing whatever Google pops up first or second or third in some of these cases, and you kind of get differing numbers. So take some of these stats with a grain of salt. One of the biggest games we've covered so far has been Call of Duty Mobile. A brief description of Call of Duty Mobile is it is a free-to-play first-person shooter available on Android and iOS. Some fun stats about this game is that it earned 100 million downloads in 2 months after launch, which was super, super cool. It has 3.75 million downloads as of July of 2022, and that was according to Statista.com. Again, that was just kind of one of the first few links that came up, so that's what I used. One of the cool stats, though, that I thought was really, really neat is there are 56 million active monthly players. So the active monthly player, I did look into this a little bit more because I wanted to see what they actually classify that as, and it's people who log in and play at least once a month.
Okay.
56 million people actively playing the game, according to activeplayer.io. And this is actually compared to, and again, this is from the same website, so they're theoretically using the same data here. Only 53 million players are playing Call of Duty Warzone. So Call of Duty Mobile has 3 million more monthly players than Warzone. Does that account for total hours? No, it does not. I don't have that data. Because again, this is just monthly players. These are people who log in at least once a month. It does not say how much playtime. But I just thought that was a cool stat. But according to statistics, we can't just say, oh, well, that means Call of Duty Mobile is more popular, because Warzone players are absolutely crazy, and each round takes, who knows, 10, 20 minutes if you're actually good at the game. So it can take hours and hours to actually go through. So again, I can't say one gets more playtime than the other, but there is a slight difference in the amount of monthly players, which I thought was really cool. I gave this game actually an 8 out of 10, and I graded this against normal console games because it is fun to play.
Interesting.
It's
so there's no
friendly.
Asterisks.
No. Like as far as a video game goes, I would give this an 8 out of 10. It still has some bugs. And they're working on it. They're working on performance issues and things like that. But I play this more than I play some other console games. Like, it's great. It's close to the authentic Call of Duty gameplay, minus the graphics. I think most of the 2 out of 10 points that I knocked it off for was mostly for the presence of active bugs, and which aren't a ton, but the graphics are obviously not nearly as high. And if we compare this to the highest grossing games we covered earlier, so taken from the same list, Call of Duty is the 28th highest grossing game at $1.5 billion. And the game is just under 3 years old, I believe. So that means they're making $500 million roughly in gross income per year from this game.
Yeah, honestly, I really agree with your rating. I really agree with your feedback. The only reason I don't play it is because my phone is a piece of garbage and the battery sucks.
That is super fair.
By the time I get to work in the morning, I've used a quarter of my battery.
That's really bad.
And it's not like I sit in the shower playing mobile games either. That's it.
That's fair. Let's just go into the news really quick and then do our outro, because if we're going to get another recording in, we are at about an hour time already. And again, that's going to cut down once we clip out all of the dorky things that we said, which I guess technically means the entire podcast would get clipped, but like the extra dorky stuff.
Clip it.
No, snip it. In other news, we had a big drop this week as far as video games go. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 just released, and you may be asking,
awesome.
Didn't they already have a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2? Yes, they did. This is a remake. We kind of talked a little bit about like the idea of remakes and how we don't necessarily like that as well, but this game broke a Steam record of 238,000 players playing within 24 hours of launch. And keep in mind,
oh my gosh,
this is a BattleNet game, and so when we're looking at these statistics, especially the Steam record, this is for people who are playing on the platform of Steam. This is not console players. This is just players who are playing on Steam. So this doesn't even account for the entire player base. And they did, even on October 31st when I was writing this out, so happy post-Halloween, everybody, I was just kind of curious to see how many players are actually playing at that time. And there's some cool different sites you can see that will give you kind of rough estimations. It's like Steam Stats or whatever. I think you mentioned a link to it the other week. And even at that time, they had 255,000 players playing in like the middle of the day on Halloween. It was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like literally eating my lunch, looking at these stats. And I'm like, where are your jobs, everybody? I say that as I'm like at my job, looking at Call of Duty stats while I'm eating lunch. But, got to do something during those lunch times. So really, really cool. They're obviously doing pretty well. I haven't played it at all myself. I've been watching some really, really cool streamers who have been starting to pick it up. So some of my regulars, you'll see me on Twitter I'll tweet those people out pretty commonly. I'll retweet when they go online because I don't always get the time to watch them. But y'all know who you are. Really appreciate them. And people just make really, really good content. One thing we had kind of mentioned when we first started this is doing like creator shoutouts. I've been seeing a lot of really cool players going through. I follow a lot of different people on Twitter. That's just kind of the easiest way of getting access to people's schedule and people's player information, things like that. It's just really short, really simple. and I post it like when I go live and stuff on there as well. One really, really cool player who plays Gears. Actually, you introduced me to this streamer because I was streaming once and you recommended this player for a raid, but it's Haydenator. Really, really fun Canadian streamer. She goes live for a long time, almost every single day. Really, really cool. She slaps at Gears. So good at that game.
Really good.
I actually hopped into her stream today and she was just destroying it, which was funny because apparently before I got there, she just like wasn't doing that well. And when I hopped in there, she was like just sneaking up on everyone. She got like a 7-kill streak like in a row and just was like going ham. And I was like, oh my gosh,
that's awesome.
Like she was literally making this look easy. And so I was like, oh, I like kind of want to play this now. I don't have anything to play it on at this moment, but we're hoping to get a house soon. So once we get the office and stuff set up, I'm hoping I might be able to get into that. But that's definitely
dude, Jingle Juvies is coming back.
Yeah, it's almost Christmas time, but that is a creator I would like to shout out this week.
Yeah, for sure.
In other news, we do have a few games with gold. It is a new month, so different games get released onto the Xbox platform as part of the Xbox Game Pass and gold subscription. I always just do them all in one, so it all just comes in a convenient package. But we have 3 games that are coming into the month of October in various different times. These are actually staggered around a little bit so that way you can kind of play one game at the other. First one is Praetorians, the HD remaster. This one's going to be available November 1st through the 30th. Then we have Bomber Crew Deluxe Edition. This one's already out. Most of these are already out. Bomber Crew Deluxe Edition came out on October 16th and is running until the middle of the month, so November 16th, so just 1 month. And then Dead End Job, November 16th to December 15th. So you can kind of, if you're looking at it from my side, they get the full month, 1 game, that's Praetorians, and then they kind of split it up half-month intervals as well. So those are all games with gold right now. So if you have an Xbox membership already, download the games, play them, try them out. That's why they do these, is because you can get access to some really, really cool games and you're not paying any extra money for it. So make sure you guys check those out. Give them a download.
And Dark Tide comes out on Xbox Game Pass at the end of this month.
Let's go!
That is Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide. So it's a PvE game, which is, now that I'm an adult, it's pretty much the only games I'm good at. Love horde games, though. It looks super awesome. I think our squad is probably going to play the crap out of it.
I'm super excited for that to come out. I haven't played a good non-tabletop Warhammer game in a while, so I'm really, really excited for this one. We're going to wrap this one up here, guys. Thank you guys all for taking the time out of your day to be with us here today. If you want to hear more about a specific topic, please let us know. You can @ us on Twitter @Talk Tatooine. Man, I can't even talk today. And if you want to see the video format of this show, we're on YouTube at Talk About Tatooine. Those are both great ways to interact with us, and they let us be a conduit to the community. So post comments on YouTube, @ us on Twitter, whatever works for you guys. Really, right now, the best way to support the show is to watch, like, and subscribe. We're looking for that view time. We're looking for those subscribers, things like that. But really, make sure you guys are sharing this video with a friend, comment to keep the conversation rolling, and hit that bell for notifications. And do all those YouTube things and Twitter things as well. Make sure you guys are staying up to date on everything. We do tweet about a lot of fun things. I know you are heading up the Twitter end on the Talk About Tatooine end, and you are just constantly tweeting out stuff that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I've got you subscribed, even in my own Twitter feed, because you're posting these like news items all the time, and for me, it just helps me keep up with everything. So we look forward to hearing from you guys.
Thanks.
But until next time, may the Force be with you.